This is the story of the Junkman as he remembers the old read-along books he had as a kid. You can follow along with that Junkman in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear Junkman complain about repro figures like this.
Ugh.
Let's begin now. Welcome to the Junk Room, a place where the Junkman loves to talk about things he grew up with. From action figures to old movies. Today Junkman is looking back at some of the great read-along books from his childhood.
Ugh.
One of the Junkman's earliest memories of the read-along books was from the movie E.T. I thought he never had it. He found it odd that Drew Barrymore was on the cover and was billed as the star. But what Junkman didn't know at the time was this story was narrated by Drew as her E.T. character.
Ugh.
Here's another one that Junkman never had, but he used to see it a lot at his local Kmart store.
These aliens intrigued me. They looked like some kind of strange horse. I couldn't stop looking at them.
Junkman remembered. He hated how they looked, but also felt a need to see more of them.
Ugh.
Now, I knew more about this one than probably the movie itself.
Junkman claimed about the read-along Goonies book. It seems Junkman used to listen to this, but he couldn't read along as he lost the book pretty soon after getting it.
It was sad. I wasn't able to see the pictures.
Ugh.
Another one he never had was based on the movie Gremlins.
Now, I did get a read-along book that was from the Gremlins, but it wasn't one that came with a record. This one was free from Hardee's.
Junkman fondly remembers. He adds that those on the West Coast knows Hardee's as Carl's Jr.
Ugh.
That Junkman is shocked. How could they have released The Last Starfighter as a read-along, and he never knew about it until right now?
Was my whole childhood a lie? Did my parents even love me?
He asked the viewers of his channel. But that was not the reason, as Larry J. Wampa would point out.
Dude, by the time that one came out, you were way too old to be reading the read-along book.
Larry yelled.
Ugh.
The Indiana Jones series of read-along books Junkman loved, but he only had 2 of the 3 books, but he loved them a lot.
Man, I played that Raiders one over and over and over again.
He told his YouTube viewers.
Ugh.
Now, I had Temple of Doom, but I didn't listen to it as much.
He remembered. However, it seems when it came to The Last Crusade, he never had it, as he was in his late teens by 1989.
That dude that played Salah, he did the voice for it, but he did it as himself, not as the character.
Junkman added.
Ugh.
Junkman was a little shocked they made read-along books to Star Trek. This wasn't cause Junkman was some Star Trek hater. In fact, he is a big fan of The Next Generation. But a read-along book for Star Trek, mostly for the motion picture, sounds boring to him.
Ugh.
And then Captain Kirk stands around the bridge of the Enterprise.
Junkman thought would be one of the lines from the story.
This had to be used by parents to get kids to go to sleep.
Junkman believes.
Ugh.
Now, I never saw this movie, at least not until it was on HBO.
Junkman claims as he remembers the read-along book to the Movietron.
I've seen bits and pieces of it here and there, but I never really sat down and watched the whole thing until a couple years ago.
He would add.
Ugh.
I loved it, but man, did I suck at it.
Junkman had now rambled on to talking about the Tron arcade game, a game he would drop many of quarters into over the summer of 1982.
While you guys were having Pac-Man fever, I was having Tron bike light fever.
He declared.
Ugh.
This was my Netflix as a kid.
Junkman would scream as he remembered the read-along books to Star Wars.
I wore all 3 of these out, like he was a Cajun prostitute.
Ugh.
Not only did they do the 3 movies, there were 2 based on Marvel comic books, 2 of the Ewok movies, and 2 educational ones. There was even one about that mission to Order Mandela they talked about in Empire Strikes Back.
Junkman said with excitement.
Ugh.
Most of the voices you heard on this record was Chuck Ripley.
Junkman would boost. But Chuck Ripley would not be the only voice you heard, as Anthony Daniels would do the 2 educational ones as his character C-3PO.
Ugh.
Mekahani Mekalana Thrawn Mekaleki Hi Mekahani Ho.
Junkman tries hard to say the name Malachi Throne correctly. He explains that the guy on the Empire read-along was also the voice on the first Star Wars trailer.
Somewhere in space, all this is happening. You remember that voice?
Junkman said with excitement.
Ugh.
This guy also had ties with Star Trek. He turned down the role to play Dr. McCoy.
Junkman was excited to relay some Star Trek trivia to his viewers.
He also played Mendez in the classic Trek series, and he played a Romulin on The Next Generation.
Junkman said with pride. He might be a Star Wars fan, but he knows a little about Star Trek also.
Ugh.
That was about all the read-along books Junkman remembered as a kid, but he knows there was more out there. In fact, a company called Rainbow did a few.
Now, I don't remember ever seeing these rainbow ones, but there was one of them I just found out they made, and I couldn't believe it.
He teased.
Ugh.
Rambo. They made a read-along book for Rambo. Yeah, the R.A. Ray movie, First Blood Part 2.
Junkman said in shock.
They also made one based on Airwolf and one based on the V series.
He might not have seen many episodes of Airwolf, but Junkman saw every single V episode.
Ugh.
Well, that's a look at the read-along books, Junkman said with a slight grin. He really loves to talk about things he had growing up, but he also likes to know what you loved.
Let me know what read-along book you had as a kid.
He asked the viewers.
Ugh.
As Junkman ends his video, he reminds the viewers that they should thumb up the video, so he knows they liked it, and subscribe to the channel if they have not yet. He might be done for this video, but do not worry, that Junkman will return again with another video soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.